To unprotect a sheet in Excel without knowing the password, one effective method involves using a VBA macro. This technique can bypass the password protection if the sheet isn't secured with a robust, complex password. The VBA macro essentially instructs Excel to remove the protection from the active sheet. Here's how to implement it. Firstly, open the Excel workbook containing the protected sheet. Secondly, press Alt plus F11 to open the Visual Basic Editor or VBA editor. Thirdly, in the VBA editor, go to Insert, then Module. This will create a new module where you can paste the VBA code. Fourthly, copy the following code into the newly created module sub Unprotect sheet without password active sheet. Unprotect end sub. Fifthly, once the code is pasted, you can run the macro. To do this, either press F5 while in the VBA editor or go back to your Excel sheet. Press Alt plus F8 to open the macro dialog box. Select the Unprotect sheet without password macro and click Run. Sixthly, after running the macro, the sheet should now be unprotected, allowing you to make the desired changes, such as changing the colors to black and white. The VBA code is very simple. It consists of a sub-procedure named Unprotect sheet without password. Inside this procedure, the active sheet Unprotect method is called. The active sheet property refers to the currently active worksheet in Excel. The Unprotect method, when called without any arguments, attempts to remove the protection from the sheet. It's important to reiterate that this method is not foolproof. If the Excel sheet is protected with a strong password, one that uses a combination of uppercase and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols, this VBA macro might not work. Excel's protection mechanism is designed to prevent unauthorized access, and a strong password makes it significantly harder to bypass. However, for sheets with simple or weak passwords, or those without passwords, this macro provides a quick and easy solution to unprotect them. After unprotecting the sheet, you can proceed with modifying its appearance. To change the colors to black and white, you can follow these steps. Firstly, select the cells or the entire sheet that you want to modify. To select the entire sheet, click the small triangle in the top left corner of this sheet, where the row and column headers meet. Secondly, go to the Home tab on the Excel ribbon. Thirdly, in the font group, you can change the font color to black. Click the drop-down arrow next to the font color button, which usually has an on it, and select black from the color palette. Fourthly, to remove the gray background, go to the fill color button, which looks like a paint bucket. Click the drop-down arrow next to it and select no fill to remove any background color. Fifthly, to remove the red border, if there is one, you can use the border options. Select the cells with the border, then click the drop-down arrow next to the Borders button in the font group. Choose No Border to remove any existing borders. By following these steps, you can transform the color scheme of the Excel sheet to black and white. If you want to automate this color change process as well, you could incorporate it into the same VBA macro, so it automatically changes the colors after unprotecting the sheet. Here's an example of how you could modify the VBA macro to include the color changes sub Unprotect and change colors active sheet. Unprotect with active sheet. Cells. Font. Color index equals 1 sets font color to black. Interior. Color index equals Excel none removes fill color. Borders. Line style equals Excel none removes borders end with end sub. In this modified macro, after the sheet is unprotected, the code uses the with statement to apply formatting changes to all cells in the active sheet. The font color index equals 1 line sets the font color to black. In Excel's color palette, the index 1 represents black. The interior color index equals Excel none line removes any fill color from the cells, effectively eliminating the gray background. The borders. Line style equals Excel none line removes any borders that might be present. To use this modified macro, simply replace the original code in the module with this new code and run it as before. This will unprotect the sheet and automatically change the colors to black and white. Keep in mind that using VBA macros can sometimes raise security concerns, especially if you're opening Excel files from untrusted sources. Macros can potentially contain malicious code that could harm your computer. Therefore, it's important to only run macros from sources you trust. Excel has security settings that allow you to control how macros are handled. You can access these settings by going to File, Options, Trust Center Settings, and then Macro Settings. Here, you can choose to disable all macros without notification, disable all macros with notification, disable all macros except digitally signed macros, or enable all macros. The recommended setting is usually to disable all macros with notification. This way, Excel will alert you when a workbook contains macros, and you can choose whether or not to enable them. Using the VBA editor, you can also add comments to the code to explain what it does. This can be helpful for understanding the code later or for sharing it with others. To add a comment, simply start a line with an apostrophe. Anything after the apostrophe on that line will be treated as a comment and ignored by the VBA compiler. For example, you could add comments to the Unprotect sheet without password macro like this sub Unprotect sheet without password. This macro unprotects the active sheet unprotect the active sheet end sub. Comments make the code more readable and understandable. In addition to unprotecting and changing colors, VBA macros can be used to automate a wide variety of tasks in Excel, such as data entry, formatting, calculations, and report generation. VBA provides a powerful way to customize Excel and streamline your workflow. Another thing to remember is that if the Excel file is saved in the older XLS format, it may have different security considerations compared to the newer XLSX format. The XLS format is more susceptible to macro-based viruses, so it's generally recommended to save your files in the XLSX or XLSM format, which offer improved security features. If you encounter any issues while running the macro, such as error messages or unexpected behavior, you can use the VBA debugger to step through the code line by line and identify the source of the problem. To use the debugger, simply place a breakpoint in the code by clicking in the grey margin to the left of the line where you want to pause execution. Then, run the macro. When the code reaches the breakpoint, it will pause, and you can use the debugging tools to inspect variables, step through the code, and identify any errors. Sometimes, the sheet might seem unprotected, but certain elements are still locked. This can happen if individual cells or objects within the sheet are locked, even if the sheet protection is removed. To unlock individual cells, select them, right-click, choose Format Cells, go to the Protection tab, and uncheck the locked box. To unlock objects, select them, right-click, choose Format Object, go to the Protection tab, and uncheck the locked box. Remember to save the Excel file after making changes to ensure that the changes are preserved. You can save the file by pressing Ctrl+S or by going to File, Save. If you want to save the file with a different name or in a different location, you can use the Save As option. Also, be aware that some Excel add-ins may interfere with the VBA macro or the sheet protection. If you're experiencing unexpected behavior, try disabling any add-ins that you have installed and see if that resolves the issue. To disable add-ins, go to File, Options, Add-ins, select Excel Add-ins in the Manage drop-down and click Go. Then uncheck the boxes next to the add-ins that you want to disable and click OK. Finally, if you're sharing the Excel file with others, be sure to inform them about the VBA macro and its purpose. Also, make sure that they understand the security implications of running macros and that they only run macros from trusted sources. By following these guidelines, you can effectively use VBA macros to unprotect Excel sheets and automate various tasks while maintaining a secure computing environment. Keep in mind that responsible use of these techniques is essential, and it's crucial to respect the intellectual property and security measures implemented by others. The techniques described here are intended for legitimate purposes, such as modifying your own spreadsheets or those where you have explicit permission to do so. Unauthorized attempts to bypass security measures on files belonging to others are unethical and potentially illegal. Always ensure that you have the necessary authorization before attempting to unprotect or modify any protected Excel file. Furthermore, consider the potential impact of your actions on the integrity and security of the data contained within the spreadsheet. Modifying a protected file without proper authorization could have unintended consequences, such as data corruption or the introduction of errors. Therefore, exercise caution and proceed responsibly when using these techniques. Remember that while VBA macros can be a powerful tool for automating tasks and customizing Excel, they should be used judiciously and with a clear understanding of the potential risks and ethical considerations involved. Always prioritize data security and respect the rights of others when working with protected Excel files. By adhering to these principles, you can leverage the power of VBA macros to enhance your productivity while maintaining a safe and responsible computing environment. This process helps to change the colors to black and white.